Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and in today's video we're replacing the factory head unit on this 2009 Dodge Sprinter. Now in this video we're going to show you how to remove your factory radio, whether it's the double or single DIN. We'll head over to the bench, show you the radio, dash kit and wiring harness we're looking to install, and we'll come back here to get everything reinstalled. Let's get started. Now, a couple of things to note on this Sprinter van. This applies to both Dodge or Mercedes Sprinter. It's all the same. Additionally here, we happen to be working on the RV version. This is the Winnebago version. And essentially, it's going to have the full camper van behind us, but it shouldn't make any difference within your install. To get this radio on out, it's actually fairly simple. The surrounding bezel unsnaps, and there's going to be 4 T20 Torx screws holding in the radio. What we need to do is unsnap the bezel that's up and around the radio. Just be very careful, you don't want to crack it. Just like so. Next here you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 T20 Torx screws. Going to remove those. So we dropped down our heating and air control, so we took out a few more T20 Torx screws just to give us a little bit more playroom. Well, we got this unscrewed. Now, being that this is the RV version, our harness may look a little different than yours. It's okay. It just depends on what vehicle you're using. But for the most part, you'll notice you should still have the standard plug for all Sprinter vans in there somewhere. What we're going to do is pull this all apart, unplug everything. We're going to have additional harnesses being the RV version, but it's okay. Again, this install is going to apply to any trim of your Dodge Sprinter or Mercedes Sprinter van. Let's go ahead and disconnect all our connections here. The harness that you're looking at that'll be left over is going to be this harness out of your factory radio. So at this point in time, with the radio removed, let's head over to the bench to show you the parts that we're going to need for our install.
All right, so here at the bench now, the parts that we're using in today's install. First and foremost, the radio that we've chosen to go with, it's this JVC KW-Z1000W. Features a 10.1-inch float mount display with a standard double DIN chassis. It's an awesome and excellent upgrade because it features both wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto and a nice large screen. It also accommodates HDMI and a ton of different options. That's going to be a nice upgrade for a Sprinter van. Now, the parts that are needed to install it, first and foremost, is the dash kit we need. It's the Metris 99-6512. Accommodates both single and double DINs. Harness adapter is the Metris 70-1784, and the antenna adapter is the Metris 40-VW12. Now, because this has an HDMI and USB port on the back of the unit, we like to install these HDMI USB flush mount adapters that allow us to relocate those ports to another convenient location. Now, just lastly here, a quick side note based on the harness adapter and parts needed. In order for you to install your aftermarket radio, your trim and year may require a smart harness or a decoding module that's included within the harness adapter itself. Ours does not. That's why we can just go with the 70-1784. If you have a specific trim or year, we'll make notes of that and link those parts in the description. Now we're going to grab our harness adapter, and we're also going to grab our dash kit, get everything assembled. Today we're going to be soldering our connections, so let's go ahead and review those connections first.
So we're preparing now to connect our harnesses together. We're going to get everything wired up. For the most part, it's going to be color for color. Don't always rely on color. Double check the function of the wire in the manual that matches the function of the wire of the opposite harness. Just because colors match doesn't mean they actually go together. In our case here today, though, it is 100% color for color. Now you'll notice we actually have this harness up here. Since we're doing the RV version, RVs are always going to be the exception to the rule. They have additional harnesses back behind the radio, but you'll notice it still has that traditional plug your harness adapter would use as well. See that there? So in our case, we're going to actually be wiring it to this plug that was in our RV. But essentially it's the same principle here. Using this, we're going to match up these colors. Today we're going to be soldering those connections, and then we're going to cover those connections with some heat shrink. So we've made our connections here. all the way across, color for color. We added our heat shrink, so at this point in time, let's move it up and over those connections and shrink it with a heat gun. Alright, so we went ahead and soldered those connections there, put some heat shrink on, good to go. Left an extra power and ground off in case we need a powered camera. Our Kenwood also has camera power connections as well. Amplifier trigger wire, we don't have an amplifier, we'll keep that out. And then the pink one here is vehicle speed sense, which our vehicle doesn't provide right here. But fortunately, with the GPS antenna of the radio, you don't necessarily need to hook these vehicle speed sense up anymore. And then reverse gear trigger wire, there isn't one here in the harness. We'll have to find this elsewhere. So that's all our connections here. What we're going to do is now wrap our harness, like we've done on this sign, with some high temperature test tape. Alright, so we're moving on to our dash kit. Now our dash kit can accommodate both a doubled in and a singled in. If you're doing a doubled in, we'll need to cut out the center support. Also comes with doubled in or singled in components here, like a little pocket if you're doing a singled in. We're going to need the doubled in trim ring, side brackets, and full on dash kit. Like I said, we're going to have to cut out the center support here, and then we'll mount our side bracket pieces into the sides of the dash kit, and then this should slide up and over our doubled in chassis, and then we'll use the supplied hardware from the unit to mount the dash kit to the chassis. Alright, so we finished getting our radio mounted up in the kit here. Got our harness adapter all tested, taped as well, zip tied, ready to go. And while we were working on things off camera, we actually also did a flush mount USB and HDMI, because the radio has an HDMI in, and USB for CarPlay. We just put it in this panel because there's nothing behind it. Put a little glue, hold it into place. Nice and easily and accessible there. And it's removable if needed. So that's really the bare essentials for the radio install here at the bench, and at this point of time we need to head back to the van to get everything reinstalled. Alright, so at this point of time we're back here in the car. We went ahead and plugged in our main harness adapter and we plugged it back in the radio. We also made a couple of connections here at the radio, a USB connection, our antenna using the antenna adapter, we made that connection. We did a backup camera, so we made that connection as well. If you want to see the backup camera, we'll link that video in the description. We did our mic, GPS antenna, everything that we need here for our radio install. So at this point, tucked back into the dash. Got our screws in, radio's nice and solid. We did our heating and air controls. Now on our Winnebago version, we actually, with the factory kit out, there's nothing to attach the upper side of the heating and air control, so we put a little piece of wood in there just as a spacer, connected the wood to the cross beam, and then screwed it in there. So it's nice and solid. It's better than it was before. So snap, snap, snap. Alright, so we have the radio all back in there. It is looking awesome. Got everything all mounted. Still need to wipe it all down and do a final cleanup here, but for the most part, we really love the way that looks. Based on the dash size, that 10-inch radio fits in there super well. Got our HDMI USB for the radio, which is great. Nice and accessible there. And we also did a backup camera. If we put that in reverse, it comes out great. Now, if you want to see how we did a backup camera, we'll link that video down in the description, which really walks you through how to install one on this specific generation Sprinter. If you've liked any of the parts that we used in this video, we'll link them down in the description for you. And be sure to hit the like button if you liked what you saw. Don't forget to subscribe. We post great content on the channel all the time. We'll see you in the next video.